Welcome to New Life Live with host and founder of New Life Ministries, Stephen Arterburn. New Life Live is dedicated to transforming lives one at a time, thanks to the giving hearts of you, our listeners. Our goal is to provide you with wisdom from God's Word to give you hope and help in life's hardest places. If you have a question you'd like to ask today, our phone lines are open. Call 1-800-229-3000. That number again is 1-800-229-3000. Now here's Steve.
Hey everybody, what's up? Zach Matchett here, filling in for Steve Arterburn. Glad you guys could join us today. I am hanging out with Dr. Jill Hubbard. Hi, Jill. How are you?
Hi, Zach.
Good to be with you
good.
again.
Yes,
yeah.
Nice to see you.
Milan Yerkovich is also with us. Hi, Milan.
Hey, Zach. It's a pleasure, as always, to be with the two of you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm honored to be here, too. Today is particularly a memorable day here in our country. It's the anniversary of D-Day, the invasion of Normandy in World War II. And I came across a video that I had watched a few years ago that just kind of came up on my feed again of a gentleman in his 90s being interviewed by the BBC, and he was sharing his experiences because he was there that day. He is a surviving veteran of that invasion.
Wow.
I just was looking up some stats here. I mean, from the Allied troops, more than 4,000 of the Allied troops lost their lives just in that day, that one occasion.
Wow.
And it was really compelling. The gentleman, the BBC interviewer was obviously, she had a certain time limit for the segment they were doing, but you could just tell that she was wanting to let him talk more. And what unfolded was just really sobering and yet really inspiring. And it reminded me of just this idea of bravery. I mean, to get out of the boats when you know the fire is coming. I mean, it's inevitable, and you've got to take that first step. But for our day, in our lives right now, I mean, people are facing situations where bravery is absolutely necessary for them to take steps. And so for you guys, as you've worked with people all these years, like, how does somebody not just white knuckle and just kind of muster up the bravery, but to actually live that out and to be courageous and to do something that, frankly, is probably one of the hardest things they will do? Jill, do you have any thoughts about how that
it's interesting because I can't even imagine being
gosh.
that man on that beach, and what a priceless recording of history, because that generation is dying out. So that's wonderful. So I can't imagine that. And yet those men, sign up for that. They go into that. They prepare. And they're putting it all on the line. And it does take a lot of courage and bravery. But I think about in our everyday lives, there are lots of people, all of us, in fact, that don't always sign up to be brave, but we are faced with really difficult situations. And then we are left with the aftermath, just like the soldiers, of sometimes devastating results.
Right.
And we have to be courageous and brave to look at that. I imagine that man standing on the beach. He's looking, he's facing what was such a fearful, scary situation, and in a sense reliving it now on the other side. But the emotion comes up, and that can be quite scary. You live something once, you don't want to live it again. But entering into a process of healing and getting help means, yes, you will feel the feelings again.
Yeah. Say yes
right?
to bravery.
Yes.
Yeah. What about you, Milan?
Well, Jill, you said it perfectly a moment ago when you said, well, they trained for this. And bravery is something that happens, I believe, as a result of training. Because they're simply doing what they were trained to do, and they had to count the costs, of course, but they did train. And I have a story after the break to tell you about that, but bravery is something we can practice every day as we learn to develop a voice to exert ourselves and to be in the present with other people and to listen to them, as well as to speak truth in a loving way to one another. That way, when things come up, we can move into situations that are frightening and scary to us in a relational sense.
Yeah, agreed. And maybe the brave step you need to take today is to give us a call because you need some help. And so we'll be here for 2 hours, 1-800-229-3000. Thanks for hanging out with us today.
it had become very apparent that some of the things I was involved with were taking over my life.
In today's world, men are barraged with inappropriate content and images all day, every day. Some say that certain behaviors are just no big deal. It's just part of being a guy. But it's simply not true. It's a battleground for every man, and the opportunities to fail are everywhere. New Life's Every Man's Battle workshop can help.
After 7 years, just one weekend, a completely changed man.
For over 20 years, New Life Ministries has been helping men regain their integrity and purity through their one-of-a-kind Every Man's Battle workshop.
He said, I think this is something that every man should go to. Married, dating, it was definitely life-changing.
Now the workshop is coming to Indianapolis June 10th through the 12th. Don't wait for him to call. To find out more, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE or go to newlife.com. 1-800-NEW-LIFE. To find out more information about New Life or to order any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Now back to New Life Live.
Zach Matchett in here, filling in for Steve Arterburn. I'm with Dr. Jill Hubbard and Milan Yerkovich. We spent some time just kind of remembering D-Day, which is what June 6th, not January 6th, June 6th commemorates. And Milan, you were sharing just the idea of bravery there, and you said you had a quick story that you wanted to get to, and I wanted to make sure I give you that
opportunity. Well, this is very up close and personal. I have had a friend who was a kung fu instructor, as I am. He taught in a different studio, but one of the things that we're trained to do is to attack the attacker. And there was a shooting in Geneva Presbyterian Church in Laguna Hills here a couple of weeks ago. And he was there, and he attacked the attacker, the man shooting the gun, and was killed in the process. But his dedication and bravery to doing what he was trained to do stopped the guy long enough for other people to subdue him and tie him up.
Wow, Milan.
But he died in the process. He was 52 years old, Dr. John Chang. And the truth is we do what we're trained to do. And if we have no practice in being assertive or having a voice, as I was saying earlier, we won't know how to use it when the crisis comes.
We'll freeze, right?
Right. John just simply did what we're trained to do, and I'm just grateful for him.
Yeah. What a great tribute to him, too. I had no idea that your personal connection with him. Yeah. And you're absolutely right. Sometimes, oftentimes, the right thing and the hardest thing are the same. And so I just want to make sure that we took time to really honor, and we honor all those that served not just in World War II, but in any military service today as we remember those who lost their lives. And we think about gentlemen like Harry and also Dr. Chang just for their sacrifice and their bravery. Thanks so much for hanging out with us today. We're taking your calls for 2 hours, 1-800-229-3000. We'd love to hear from you so we can chat and get you the help that you need and point you in the right direction. So we're going to go ahead and get to our first call here. We've got Sally with us. She is listening to us in Pennsylvania. And so, Sally, welcome to New Life Live. How can we help you today?
Well, thank you. Yes, so I have a question, I guess, for Milan. I've been trying to get my daughter and son-in-law to one of your workshops, your intimacy and marriage workshop, for many years. And they're at a point now where they finally said, okay. And I am picking up the bill for everything, which was an incentive for them to go, of course. And over the years and many trials and tribulations, they have fallen away from the Lord. And one of the things they said was, this is not going to be a lot of talk about God, is it? And I kind of skirted the question a little. But my question, I guess, to Milan is, like, how much does God come into it? And have they found there have been other couples that might have been offended and at the workshops if they didn't realize that there was going to be talk about God?
Well, Sally, that's a great question, so thank you very much. It is well balanced. We do not, Kay and I and Steve and the other leaders, we don't approach the workshop like a church service at all. We talk about the challenges of relationship, and everything we discuss has a biblical basis to it. Learning to love one another better is just something that God calls us to do. And so we will share passages of Scripture. But what happens between Friday afternoon at 3 o'clock when that starts and Sunday at noon when it ends is a wonderful transformation where people feel helped, they feel supported. They're a part of a small group that they can identify with other couples and realize they're not alone in this thing called relationship. And so I think it's well balanced. I don't think it'll be off-putting, and that would be my hope.
But I wouldn't not tell them the truth.
That's right.
That it is from a Christian organization.
Right.
But the point is, you're wanting them to go for the relational aspects, and that I would acknowledge, you understand that they're not wanting a lot of God stuff. And would they be willing to go and, tolerate the God stuff to get the relational aspects? Because that's what's really important in terms of their going, right? That you're wanting to, and that you're paying for it. So, right? There's no way to get something that's going to meet them exactly where they're at, but they'll be pleasantly surprised, I think. And I think the stuff they don't care for will just kind of fade for them.
Yeah.
Whereas for others, it would be more meaningful.
Sure. And that's a good balance, Jill. And one other thing is, Kay and I teach on the research field of attachment research, which is a 75-year-old field of research at the university level. But who invented the attachment experience of a child bonding with the parent? Who invented that?
Yeah.
Who invented that dependency and that closeness?
Right. And that quiet alert right after birth.
That's right. Who invented that? And who created that connection and how the brains respond to one another and create attachment? Or what happens because of sin that disrupts it and makes it not work as optimal in some families as others? So this is really understanding. It's like the studying the cosmos. They're looking at it and going, wow, and we look at it and go, wow, but we believe God created that. And so it's just a matter of really blending good research, and that's one of the things they're also going to hear, which I believe will be also something that will give them a certainty that they're in a good place. So
Great.
Thanks for your call, Sally. And by the way, thanks for loving them enough to send them.
Yes, agreed.
Yes. I've listened to your show for many years, and I just always felt that this was a way maybe for them to get through, breakthrough.
Right. And yes, the workshop is not a bunch of fluff. It's intellectually sound, is what I'm hearing you say, Milan. Right?
Great.
Well, thank you for calling on behalf of somebody else. I mean, that you're playing the key role in getting them the help that they need, and just making this available to them. Milan, my question to you would be, as we kind of wrap up with Sally, is there for somebody who maybe is calling on behalf, who's in the support role, who's in the enabling in a positive way of getting them into a resource that'd be helpful, is there a resource that we can send to Sally that maybe that New Life provides, or that you and Kay have worked on specifically about someone who maybe is in that support role directly?
Well, how we love, right?
Well, that's our book, of course, How We Love. But one of the books that I really love is something that Steve did. It's called Take Your Life Back. And it's about learning to have the strength to be as assertive as Sally is, to take back her life, and then also be strong enough to help others take their life back too. You know, Sally's son and daughter-in-law are being held hostage by something that is controlling them, and to be able to, for them to be able to take control of something that is formerly taking control of them is a real blessing. So I would say take your life back would be a good thing to give to them. Yeah.
So I will be sure to send that to you. Thanks again for calling. And man, so much of healing and recovery starts with someone who hopes on your behalf, someone who helps you on that person's behalf. So Sally, thanks again for reaching out to us. We're going to go to Ashley next. She is listening to us in Columbus, Ohio. And so Ashley, welcome to New Life Live. How can we help you today?
My question is, I have lost my home and kids through separation. How do I get them back and become more decisive?
I'm so sorry to hear about your loss. That is such a challenging situation. Thanks for your question, Ashley. Can you give us, and feel free to be as open as much or as little as you want to be, but just give us maybe some context for some of those things that led up to the separation and losing your home and the kids as well.
I don't know if I really want to go into detail on air.
Okay. That's fine. That's fine. Jill, what do you think?
Well, I understand that, Ashley. Some of these things are very sensitive, but losing your kids and your home, I just feel so sad for you because that's such a huge loss. And as the mom, I mean, I'm imagining either a very overbearing husband who has a lot of control and could influence the kids, right? Or, and you're saying yes, okay, or are there things in your life that made that easier for him too? And so we can't start by changing another person, but we need to get help for ourselves. So first, number one is you need some legal counsel. That's really important in situations like this, because if you were pushed out, it's like you have some rights. What are your rights? And you don't want to just kind of roll over and accept that, because then that sets a precedence that doesn't fare well for you longer term. And so it's important to get either through, friends that can direct you to legal counsel, legal aid, anywhere you can to get a consult on what would be your next steps legally. And then I'm hoping that you have family or friends or a church where you are have a place to lay your head at night, because your safety and stability, I think, is going to be very important as you move forward in trying to address these issues. And then in terms of, do you have any access to your kids? Are they willing to talk to you at all?
Yes. They're very willing to talk.
Okay.
But I don't have that much access right now. The access is limited, but they're very willing to talk when I am around them. But I was just thinking about your question without going into everything. Probably on my part, there's a lack of assertiveness. So that's probably one of the things that got me where I'm at.
Not being able to stand up and say no or voice your opinion.
And Ashley, I'm gonna guess that lack of assertiveness and your inability to have a voice was true about you before you ever met your husband.
Yes.
Yes.
He is dominating.
Yes.
So he picked.
Yes.
He clearly picked me because he's very dominated.
Yeah.
We get that, but what I'm trying to establish is that our training before we ever get married, my wife Kay and I discuss, and we say, our marriage problems didn't start during our marriage. They're typically something that starts before whatever our strengths and weaknesses are. We had them before we got married. So what I would encourage you to do, Ashley, is to get into a group, a support group, a therapy group, a church group that works on assertiveness and the ability to vocalize and speak and to have the courage to speak in a group and have people look you in the eye. And
that might be like a CODA group.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah,
and they have a lot of those in churches.
Absolutely. The ability to come out of codependency and fear and to move into assertiveness is something that I personally had to learn myself, Ashley. And so I think that's another important step for you as a person, and then to prove to your kids you have a voice.
Absolutely. We're taking your calls for 2 hours, 1-800-229-3000.
My husband was involved with pornography addiction. He was unfaithful. I called the wedding off. He stepped out on the marriage and ended up having a child.
The Restore Workshop is designed for a woman dealing with a man's sexual addiction issues.
My husband is a recovering sex addict. I work strip clubs, other ladies.
If you've been affected by betrayal, an emotional or physical affair, or pornography, the Restore Workshop will equip you with support and tools to help you through.
Restore has empowered me and has given me the tools to work through my anger, work through my pain, work through my confusion, and help me realize that I am worthy.
Being here and being surrounded by people who get it has given me my power back.
The Restore Workshop is coming to Dallas, Texas, July 15th through the 17th. To register or to find out more, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE or go online to newlife.com.
Thank you, Restore. You have changed my life forever.
Chris Williams on coaching.
Oftentimes I get asked, what is the difference between therapy and coaching? The biggest difference between the two is that a therapist is going to be looking for a diagnosable mental health condition, whereas a coach is going to look at a particular issue and help a person work through that.
If you need a coach, call New Life today and ask about the New Life Coaching Network. Our coaches have been trained and screened with the same intensive process we use for our network counselors.
If you're looking at an issue in your life that you just kind of want to change, whether it be your weight or leadership or other areas of behavioral patterns, check out coaching. There can be some really, really helpful things for you.
Take control of your life and take action to achieve your goals. Call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's 1-800-639-5433 and talk to us about getting a New Life coach. 1-800-NEW-LIFE. We'd love to hear from you. If you have a question or a comment, call toll-free 1-800-229-3000. Now back to New Life Live.
Thanks again for joining us at New Life Live today. Zach Matchett filling in for Steve Arterburn. I'm here with Dr. Jill Hubbard and Milan Yerkovich. We are taking your calls for 2 hours today. We'd love to chat with you. We talked at the opening of the show about bravery, and I mentioned that maybe the bravest thing that you can do is to pick up the phone and call. I know that it is challenging to be vulnerable, but as someone wise once told me, when it comes to vulnerability, go first. So pick up the phone and reach out for help, and we would love to chat with you. We've been here with Ashley talking about a difficult separation that she has gone through, losing her home and her kids, and I'd love to send a resource to Ashley that maybe can get her at least the best next step there.
And Zach, you're talking about bravery. When we have difficulty asserting ourselves, it can feel huge, like the fear of annihilation, right? Literally. And so that takes a lot of bravery. And so I just wanted to add and kind of re-emphasize for Ashley that I think as much support as you can get around you in the form of a therapist, a group, friends that you reach out to and say, can you stand with me during this time? You need people that you trust and that you can feel comfortable with who can help you to assert yourself, because it will feel counterintuitive. You'll feel like you're doing something wrong to say the right thing, and it'll feel so bad. And so you need people to say, no, this is the right thing, Ashley. And so that you can start to practice and know, okay, even though it's hard, it doesn't feel right, I do need to assert myself.
And Jill, right along with that is the power of role play.
Yes, practicing.
Kay and I did that for, I remember, almost 2 years. She had to confront her father, and she did not have an adult voice to do it.
Yeah.
I played her dad for 2 years.
Oh.
And she practiced talking to me eyeball to eyeball what she wanted to say to him. And when we met with him, ultimately, it was very successful because she was used to saying the words.
Oh,
she
absolutely.
was used to them vocalizing and hearing herself say them. And it had been something that, as we discussed at the top of the hour, Zach, something she had then trained to do, which she was then able to be brave enough to execute. So I believe role play is one of the most important things we can do in terms of learning to express and have a voice, but it has to be to someone where I'm looking them right in the eye.
That's right. And we were talking during the break about getting Ashley Take Your Life Back. Just a resource we've already recommended it just this hour. Just the idea of you're not too far gone. You're not too far beyond repair. You can start doing the best next steps right now and starting to reclaim and redraw new boundaries and move forward in healing and recovery. And something that you guys said earlier too, just the idea of being in a group. I just think that we, for whatever reason, when we're struggling, we undervalue community and we overvalue independence. And isn't that interesting that when we turn inwardly when we're really struggling, you know?
Well, right. And someone like Ashley probably has to withdraw into herself to even know what she thinks at all. Because in the face of others, right, I think probably her mind goes blank, or that's when it's hardest to assert herself. And so that's where just even the practicing of the simplest of opinions. Where do I want to go eat? Right? If you're the one that's always saying, oh, I don't care, you choose. No, practice asserting yourself with an opinion.
That's great. That's great. Milan, you were mentioning just that role-playing element, and you talked about being Kay's father, and I was thinking about just the idea of how much our earthly father, whatever that means, biological stepfather, whatever the case, and just how much power that has, not just in our formative years as a child and as a teenager, but into adulthood as well. And I want to let you guys know, obviously here at New Life, we have the opportunity to contribute and to make sure that people are given resources that will help. And during the month of June, if you give to New Life, we're actually going to send you a book by Dr. Dave Stoop, who is such an important and special person here at New Life. Passed away recently, but he had a book, Making Peace with Your Father. Takes you through 11 steps that will help you make peace with your earthly father so you can have a close relationship with your heavenly Father. And so if you give during the month of June here to New Life, we would love to send you that as a resource and really as a tribute to Dr. Dave Stoop and just all the great work and ministry he did
and this is
for
his
so many years.
Month.
It is,
I wonder if that was on purpose.
That probably was. It was a way to honor him for sure. Yeah, that's great. We're going to get to our next call here. We're going to go to Sandra. Sandra is listening to us in North Carolina. And so, Sandra, welcome to New Life Live. We would love that you're here with us. How can we help you today?
Hi, how are you all?
I'm great. Thanks for asking. Is there anything we can help you with today?
Sure. I will. Let me just state my question first, and then I will try to fill in with a little bit of information to contextualize this.
Yes, thank you.
So my question is, you're welcome. My question is, how do I respond to my son? He's 30 years old. He is demanding that I speak out against anyone who hurts him by telling him about Jesus or speaking out against his chosen gender-neutral lifestyle.
Wow, that's a loaded question. It's really heavy, and it's more and more of a conversation that we need to lean into, not just in the mental health world and therapeutic world, but also in the ministry and church world. It's a tough question because there's a lot of layers to it. And so we're going to go to a break here, so stay on the line because we want to kind of ask some follow-up questions for you. This is a very important topic, and I know that Milan and Dr. Jill are going to have some great things to say. So again, we're hanging out for 2 hours today. Thanks so much for reaching out to us. You can call us 1-800-229-3000. I'm taking your calls. And again, if you need some help, need some direction, we would love to chat with you and help you out in any way we can. We'll be back.
For most of my life, I've been dealing with an opiate addiction.
Why is opioid addiction quickly becoming one of our nation's biggest killers? Maybe it's because it isn't only those who are addicted who are in denial.
We did what I see so many parents do, is it can't be an addiction. There's something medically wrong.
It's impossible to solve a problem when you don't know what you're up against, and families will try to find any explanation except the one that will put them on the right path.
Alcoholism and drug addiction is a family disease. It doesn't affect just the individual.
If someone you love is abusing painkillers, know what you're up against. It's time to admit it's addiction and seek treatment. Call us today at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. We have Christ-centered partner treatment centers around the country. Call 1-800-639-5433 or visit us online at newlife.com.
We just made a decision. We will do whatever it takes.
1-800-NEW-LIFE.
I was really living a very anxiety-filled life. I turned on New Life, and the topic that day was about anxiety. And just by listening, I got relief.
You can help New Life stay on the air by joining Club New Life today. When you sign up to support us monthly through Club New Life, we'll send you the new member thank you gift of the Life Recovery Bible personal size, the 1-year Life Recovery Prayer Devotional, the New Life Journal, a New Life pen and highlighter, and a New Life zipper tote to hold it all. Plus, there are ongoing benefits like access to the Club New Life video library, the monthly Club New Life CD or download, quarterly resources, free shipping on purchased resources, and discounts on workshops. Call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's 1-800-639-5433. Support Club New Life, and together we can help hurting people find help and hope in life's hardest places. Call 1-800-639-5433 to join Club New Life today. We're glad you joined us for New Life Live. To be a part of the program, call 1-800-229-3000. Now back to New Life Live.
Thanks again for joining us today on New Life Live. Zach Matchett here with Dr. Jill Hubbard and Milan Yerkovich. We have Sandra on the line with us. Sandra, just before the break, was sharing that, I'll make sure I get this right. So, a 30-year-old son living a gender-neutral lifestyle and has kind of been caustic, demanding, whatever the word may be, of anybody that maybe speaks. It sounds like it's a bit of a combination, and so Sandra, correct me here if I'm wrong, but speaking out against not just his lifestyle, but then also maybe bringing in the spiritual element, talking about Jesus with him. And so maybe give some more definition to maybe what you mean when you say speak out against or the Jesus kind of side of things.
Well, there was a particular situation recently about a very close family friend who basically told him, there was some conversation that took place between them both. I don't know exactly what transpired there, but he said that she was very insulting of him. And so he texted her to tell her that how hurt he was, and she responded with his lifestyle, no man, no woman, no money, no job can satisfy him. What he really needs is Jesus. So that's what he said to me and said, if I don't speak out against her, saying that she is wrong and he is right, then our relationship is jeopardized if I don't do that, and I need to do that for anybody who hurts him.
So that's really interesting, Sandra. He's 30 years old, but he's needing his mom to step in and protect him. And I'm wondering why he would want that, number one. Two, I mean, I can see where he might want to share his feelings with you and maybe get you to agree with him, but to stand in for him versus him, if he really feels strongly about this and feels that this is what he believes is true, why does he need anyone to step in for him? And where is the, she maybe crossed the line in terms of asserting herself with him, and he didn't appreciate that. And good, he let her know, and then, she's trying to make a point. So, okay, maybe she came on too strong, and he didn't like her delivery. But this is about, he's wanting people to accept him, but almost even beyond that, like for people to admit this is true. Well, she was wanting the same thing. She was wanting him to admit that was true. And wouldn't that make you just like her if you did the same thing? And would he, because you are a believer in Jesus, excuse me, would he ever step up for people in his community that talked against Jesus? Would he do for you what he's asking you to do for him?
Mm-hmm.
And I think so much of the time, these situations only go in one direction. Now, I realize you're the mom, this is your son, but at the same time, he's an adult. So even though parent-child relationships are never completely equal, there is in adulthood more of an adult-to-adult relationship as much as possible. Yeah. And so he doesn't get to just be the helpless child in this. So I think very tenderly exploring some of these things with him, right? And also...
Well, that's difficult to do.
Okay.
I was just going to say that's difficult to do because he refuses, since this happened, this was a few weeks ago, he refuses to have a conversation with me. He wants a text conversation. He says he will not be talking to me until I tell him that I am willing to do this. So
perfect. Then you can ask those questions. Like, would he be willing to do the same for you about your beliefs?
Yeah. Milan, what would you jump in with here?
Sandra, I know he's 30 years old, but how old is he inside?
Yeah.
Yes.
How old is he inside? He sounds like he's 30 going on 13.
Mm-hmm.
And I am guessing that he lives at home with you and he's dependent upon you for a place to eat and sleep.
No, actually, he is extremely independent. He lives in another state by himself. He has an extremely good job. He's in a managerial position.
Oh, good. Excellent.
Okay, good.
Well, I was under the wrong impression then, so thank you for correcting that. This is very important, Sandra. The entire movement, the LGBTQ, and then all the other letters that are currently added onto it, excuse me, do not allow anybody to disagree with them. You can't disagree. You have to fully accept them, whatever they say and do. And if not, you are a hater. And if not, you're a phobe or you're fearful of them and they give you derogatory terms. They don't know how to have a discussion that allows inclusivity and diversity. See, to include you or to include other opinions are not valid. And so they want to cancel everybody that disagrees with them. And so what he's saying to you is, if you don't agree with me, I'm going to cancel you. See, and that's a very big trend right now that does not allow dialogue, or it does not allow for a person to be able to do what Jill just said. I'll defend you. Will you defend me? But then again, you have your integrity, and maybe you don't want to defend his gender position. You see. And you have to be an adult enough to say, look, if we have an adult reciprocal relationship that Jill just described, we have to be able to tolerate that we're going to disagree about a lot of things.
Yeah.
And it's important for you as an adult to accept that that is adult reality. And I would make that a very big point, that adulthood means we disagree with each other on a variety of different things, but we can still accept and have a relationship with.
So instead of being held hostage by his demand, right, you come in from a different angle.
Right.
You might first really empathize with his hurt.
Yep.
That you can understand how that would be so hurtful to him, right? And feel invalidating of him. And that he's really wanting his mom to validate him. And so you understand his desire for that. So sometimes starting there, it's shifting the conversation.
It is. It shifts it. But then again, what Sandra has to do is be able to say, I can't support that, but that doesn't mean I don't love you.
Right.
That doesn't mean I don't care for you. And if you confuse those two, you'll be separating from everybody for the rest of your life. You'll be canceling everybody that disagrees with you.
Right.
And that's a problem.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and it's just the idea of recognizing that we can have disagreements over a topic without rejecting the person wholesale. Just that idea of like that there has to be one and the same. And that almost reveals that our identity and our sexuality are too closely tied together. And that can happen for any person, regardless if they're in the LGBTQ community or if there's someone who is in a heterosexual relationship. And so we've got to be able to make that more holistic in the sense like, no, I'm just rejecting the viewpoint. I'm not actually rejecting the person.
And it's true about politics. It's true
Absolutely.
about society. If you don't agree with our societal position or political position, we cancel you.
Yeah.
And so we have to understand that is counterproductive to relationship. It doesn't
absolutely.
work. It absolutely sabotages relationship.
Well, right, and that's the very thing. So you're right, Milan, to talk about that.
Yeah.
If I don't agree with you, you're going to cancel me, son?
Exactly. That's right.
Yeah.
That's where I would go with the whole thing.
Sandra, I want to encourage you to stay on with us through the break because we want to send you a resource that we think would be helpful. But we've got Larry Sonnenberg in studio with us, and so I want to throw it to him as we go to our break. Larry, do you have anything you want to share with us?
Yeah, please don't cancel me if I ask for money. We still have this match going. It started at $706,000. $333,000 have been given on the books. I've told people we're halfway there. We're not quite halfway there, but I've had a couple of people who told me they would be sending a gift, like a 4 or 5 figure gift, and I know we're going to be halfway there real quick. But we still need a lot of money to help make this thing happen. And the reason why is what happens here in studio, in the counseling office, at our workshops. This whole thing is about helping people do just what Jill and Milan were talking about. To speak with one another in love and truth and grace, but not cancel one another, and to respect one another. And I want to read a testimony right after the break of an Every Man's Battle workshop that just gives a reason for people to want to give. And
absolutely.
It's really special. So hang on, and we'll do that right after the break.
Yeah. Just make sure when you give, you're contributing to life change and transformation. Thanks for that, Larry. We'll be going to break here, 1-800-229-3000. We'll take your calls.
I came into this thinking that my husband was the cause of many of our issues.
The New Life Intimacy and Marriage Workshop is coming to Washington, D.C. July 22nd to the 24th.
But after learning about our attachment styles, I understood how our past hurts were playing into our present problems.
Join Steve Arterburn.
It's been a dream of mine for a long time to help people to grow more intimately together, and we believe that everybody has room to grow in the intimacy level of their life.
And Milan Yerkovich.
We help couples understand how their attachment style is sabotaging their current relationship. And then we teach them how to create comfort in a relationship.
And New Life's group counselors will help you focus on the area that will benefit your marriage most. To register or to find out more, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE.
Here at this workshop, we had our first ever conversation without yelling, blaming, and accusing.
1-800-NEW-LIFE.
Hi, this is Steve Arterburn, and for 30 years, New Life has been the most trusted name in Christian counseling.
Your ministry has saved my life.
If you struggle with emotional hurt, family or marriage problems, the pit of depression, or the pain of addictions, we can help.
I'm down 100 pounds now from what I was.
You guys are awesome. You are a blessing to America.
Our treatment programs provide clinically appropriate solutions from licensed professionals. all in the biblical framework.
I have had problems with alcohol. I think God has ordained this place to be His.
You don't have to be a prisoner of your pain. Help is available at 1-800-NEW-LIFE.
She tells me that I'm a new man, and I feel like a new man.
It worked for me, and it can work for them too.
This time it is different.
If you're ready to take the first step toward genuine spiritual and emotional healing, please call us today at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. God can open the door to a better tomorrow right now. Call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's 1-800-639-5433.
To find out more information about New Life or to order any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Now back to New Life Live.
Thanks again for hanging out with us. We are taking your calls today, 1-800-229-3000. We here at New Life want to do everything we can to get you pointed in the right direction. That may start with you just giving us a call and reaching out about the situation that you are facing. And again, as I shared before we went to the break, we are doing this match giving thing, and that we want to make sure that we are giving resources to people that need help. And Larry, I want to throw it back to you. You wanted to share a testimony from Every Man's Battle, which
because it's starting this week, Friday, in Indianapolis, right there where you are, Zach.
Yes.
And here's what a man said who said a recent one. I'm really not that recent. I'm leaving Every Man's Battle hopeful, having sabotaged my marriage of 18 years regularly throughout without only brief periods of sobriety from my 40-year addiction to pornography and sex. I'm far more hopeful than I imagined was possible. I've learned more about the nature of my addiction, the extent of my woundedness, and the impact of my sin on my family, friends, and loved ones, and community this weekend than I believed possible in 2 days. I leave encouraged to pursue God in true intimacy with my wife in spite of the difficult circumstances that I will face when I go home to face the mess and the hurt that I caused in my past pursuit of sin. I leave Every Man's Battle being known by a group of men and knowing a group of men who have my permission to speak into my life and hold me accountable for my actions. And I've been given permission and the honor and privilege to speak into theirs. I leave having experienced the grace of God. So, folks, that's why we ask you to give. This gentleman's life will never be the same. His family's life will never be the same. His community will be different because of the impact he has in his community. And it makes a difference. So your giving makes a difference. That's the point. Yeah. And it's truth with grace. So thanks for supporting us in that.
Yeah, that's great. And I want to mention, too, just about that Every Man's Battle workshop that's coming up on Friday. It is here in Indianapolis where I'm at, but it's not too late to attend. You can still get signed up. And, one of the things that we share here at New Life is just the cost of addiction on a number of fronts does not outweigh the cost of getting help. And so please reach out and get the help that you need if you find yourself trapped in addiction, trapped in a marriage that's failing because of decisions that you've made. You can do the next best thing, the next right thing, and maybe that is reaching out and attending this workshop. Again, not too late to sign up. It is this Friday, June 10th, and so we really would love to encourage you to take part in that.
And Zach, did you mean the cost of addiction does outweigh the cost of help?
Yes, whatever I was supposed to say, that was what I said.
My brain didn't quite compute it, so just making sure.
No, you filled in the gaps smartly for my failure there to say it correctly. But yes, that is absolutely right.
Okay, I just want to make sure that.
I would try to turn a phrase and it didn't turn very well. But in all seriousness, I think that the idea that it's much better if I hide it because the cost is too much if I become open about it. And I actually think it's the opposite.
Right.
When we conceal it, when we stuff it, we don't get it out in the open, it actually really does. It can consume us from the inside.
Or people say, well, that's a lot of money, and I don't want to spend the money and get on a plane, and I can't afford that right now.
It's a hassle, and I can't leave work.
And all that. But we ask, well, what's the cost of a divorce? What's the cost of a spoiled marriage? Oh my goodness! And when you look down the road and you see the horrible, horrible costs of a separation or divorce because of an addiction that can be turned around. So
yes,
I wish I would have read the testimony that said I would have paid $10,000 for this weekend.
Right, right.
So
Yeah.
Right. Because it's in that hindsight, too. You know, people who are living out divorce, and its lifelong effects and impact, even just economically on families.
And what that models to your kids.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And Larry, you could call that guy back and say, you know, you could make up the difference, and if you do, it'll be matched. It'll be matched with our matching gift.
That's right.
A new life guarantee. That's good. That's good. I wanted to just real quickly, just because we had Sandra on the line before our break, and I wanted to kind of circle back around, just close the loop on this, and get her a resource to send to her, just for some recap. Sandra was sharing about her adult son making some decisions and made some choices that she disagrees with in terms of her gender identity. And but we talked on the break about maybe what would be a good resource. And so, Milan and Jill, if you want to mention the Townsend and Cloud book that you had mentioned on the break.
We mentioned boundaries because boundaries simply say, I have the ability to decide what I want to do, and regardless if you wish to do something else, I can say no. And if you want to have a relationship with me, I can have a boundary that says a relationship is based upon these things.
Right.
And I need these things to be in place so I can have a relationship with you. Mm-hmm. God does that in the gospel. That is just, the gospel is one of the most powerful illustrations of a boundary ever. That we cannot have a relationship with God until certain criteria are met. That we embrace the cross and what he did on the cross for us with the death of Christ. So then we can have a relationship with him. And so that is a great model for us to understand. That's the essence of Christianity. Mm-hmm. So boundaries by
and it
John
so
and Henry.
helps us define ourselves.
It does.
What we are and are not willing to do.
Yeah.
Right.
But a lot of people, Jill, as you know, don't have definitions of themselves.
Right. Right. And so they need other people like this son to define them, right?
That's right.
Because they're not really as confident as they come along.
That's right.
And seem like.
Right. Well, and again, just the dynamic of the relationship and how things change. Jill, you were mentioning earlier, the parent-child relationship. I mean, that never goes away. That dynamic stays for a long time, but it shifts. It moves into a new season, a new phase. There's different things that are needed. And I just wonder, and going back to the thing that, Milan, you said about just this thing gripping our culture right now of just any sort of disagreement is almost like full-throated disapproval, just like I'm ending the relationship if this, and I wonder in the short term, yes, it may be easier just to kind of cut off contact, but I wonder what damage is being done in the long term by such a definitive severance of a relationship unless the ultimatum is not given. And I think, too, that unfortunately just our world, social media, so many other factors are kind of amplifying that a viewpoint that was already there, maybe that tendency that was already there, but it's almost kind of putting it on full display. And I thought about how can we help parents that are kind of having to, quote unquote, not parents, but mentor, coach, advise their adult kids.
Right. Well, and just for clarification, a lot of the cancel culture thinks that they're setting a boundary. That's boundaries weaponized. Those are not healthy boundaries, Jill. Because boundaries actually help us to stay in relationship. They don't necessarily end relationship.
Yeah, absolutely.
And in Henry Cloud's book, Changes That Heal, one of the sections, the third section of that book, is learning to integrate good and bad, or the ability to take two things that are opposites, something I like, something I don't like, and to integrate them into reality of that's today. So, you can be on a vacation and you can have good things happen that day. You can also have things that happen that are problematic that day. And so did you have a good day or a bad day? And depending upon who you are, somebody will say, well, we had a good day, a bad day. But no, we had a day that had both in it. And that we could have to do that with opinions. And I know we're running up to the end of the show here, but the ability to tolerate good and bad and integrate them is very important.
You know, we started the show talking about bravery, and sometimes these conversations, that's about the bravest thing you can do, is have the crucial conversation. If you're still on the line, waiting to take your call, please stay on the line. Again, we'll stay with you for another hour, 1-800-229-3000. Thanks so much for joining us today. We love that we get the opportunity to do it with you. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for listening. We hope this program has helped you by giving you insights for handling the challenges you face in your life. We want you to know that we're here for you, but you also need to know that New Life Live is a listener-supported ministry. To make your donation or to get any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's 1-800-639-5433, or write to us at New Life Ministries, P.O. Box 1029, Lake Forest, California, 92609. Please join us again tomorrow for New Life Live.
Hi, thank you for watching New Life Live. You know, New Life Live is a Christian counseling program where we deal with the hard questions about life, relationships, kids, free choice, freedom of will, whatever. It's all right there on New Life Live every day, every weekday, 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific. If you want to call into the live broadcast, you can find the schedule on newlife.com or click the social media link right below. You can see every episode of New Life Live on the New Life YouTube channel. Watch it with a friend, watch it later. Be sure to subscribe and hit that bell so you'll never miss another episode. So if you want to listen on the go, download the app. The link is right below. And I hope if you need some information, if you want to get some help, you'll call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. And I'll see you next time.